You should be able to run the same exact fitness program for years and see continuous progress. Here's a little bit of credibility, blah, blah, blah. I benched 455, weighing in the mid 180s, completely natural, and I've done a bunch of other stuff. And you could probably see on my Instagram and TikTok what my physique looks like. Great physique, crazy lifts. Okay, there's some credibility or whatever. Now I'm going to break down why this is. So the way that I used to train, which got my bench all the way up to 455, or I did a bunch of training methods up to this point, but this was the training method that got me to that 455 bench. Where I would start, I would do 4-week training cycles. Earlier in this training with 3 full body workouts per week or every other day or something like that. Week 1 was 12 to 15 reps. Week 2 was 8 to 12. Week 3 was 5 to 8. And then 1 to 5 reps was that final week, week 4. And then I would take a complete rest. And over this time, I would also drop how many sets I was doing to slowly remove fatigue. So that way I could peak and hit these PRs, whether it was a 1 rep max PR, a 3 rep max PR, or a 5 rep max PR, because my goal was to get as strong as possible. I also did this for other body parts, not the 1 to 5 rep maxes, but more like 5 to 8 rep maxes. I would peak to that final week, and then I would take a week off because I was getting so fatigued. Point of this video is, if you're properly managing your recovery, you have the right amount of sets with the right amount of frequency, and you're keeping your rest times between your sets consistent, you actually should be properly recovering each time between each session. So that way you never actually have to take a week off. So this is how my training used to go before, right? Take a week off here. So it was like this. Now, whenever your recovery is on point, because like I said, I had to taper my sets down because I was doing too much in the earlier weeks, and then in the later weeks, I was getting it better, but I still had so much fatigue. And then I was going to complete failure too, which also causes fatigue in that last week because I was trying to set PRs, which would make me have to take a week off or 5 days or something like that to have the fatigue leave my body. But if the whole entire time I was just hitting the right dosage of sets with the right amount of recovery, that 24 to 48 hours that allows that 48 hours that allows the muscle to recover and the nervous system to recover with just the right amount of sets, that 1 to 2 sets per body part, 1 rep from failure, and then boom, I did that again and again and again. I would just continue to keep progressing. Now, what does progression look like? Not every single session you're going to get better. Sometimes you do have off days to where, let's say you're pressing 405 for 5 reps and then randomly you do 2. That's not abnormal. You're gonna have some days like that. Or even, let's say you do 5 reps, but it moves faster this session. It moves faster the next session, the next session. It keeps moving faster eventually to where you can get that 6. You're not just gonna see an extra rep every time or an extra 5 pounds to your lift every time. If you saw an extra 5 pounds to your lift, let's say bench press, for example, and you're doing 3 full body workouts a week, that's 150 sessions in a year or so, right? What's 150 times 5? 750. So your bench would increase 750 pounds in a year, and you would do that every year? No, that is not possible, but you will see some form of progression on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis, whether it's a rep moving faster, an additional rep, an extra 5 pounds. And whenever your recovery is done properly, your sets are dialed in with the sort of frequency that you're training with, you would just see a continuous progression. So that way you won't have to take these weeks off because you're managing your fatigue properly. That's why you hear that phrase in the scientific community, the stimulus to fatigue ratio, which it is true. How much is this stimulating muscle growth? And how much fatigue is it causing? You want the highest stimulus with the lowest amount of fatigue. That's why it's important to train in that 4 to 8 rep range, and also to go 1 rep from failure. Now, if you're new to training, I recommend just going to failure because this can be hard for you to gauge, and you want to make sure that you are training close to failure. That's the most important thing, stimulating muscle growth. But if you are more advanced, or if you have a good feel for it, train 1 rep from failure because that last rep is super fatiguing. But yeah, the point of this video is that if your program is dialed in, you don't have to do these different rep ranges, these different sets over a month, even different exercises. You should be able to keep the same exercises for months at a time and only swap them out if you're bored. But if you really love training, you don't really get bored of it because you just like the progression. You'll continue to progress and your physique will progress over time. But yeah, if you're properly recovering and you have a good program, you can literally run it for years and still see progress.